Hello everyone. I am gonna go ahead and create another one of those ranking Assassin's Creed video games, but this time in a tier list. Well, I'm sure you've seen hundreds of those videos on YouTube, but what I contribute something new, I hope so, is that I'm actually new to this franchise and I've recently finished all of them, or at least most of them. I recently built my PC after like 10 years of suffering with my very old PC. I never really got a chance to explore video games, and coming from someone who's finally be able to play all of these games, I believe I could contribute to a new perspective on what I think of these Assassin's Creed games and what I think about the franchise in general. Without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and start off with the first Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed. Now, with Assassin's Creed right here, it is a little outdated, to be perfectly honest. I remember playing this for the first time. It wasn't like a huge moment or anything like that because I was only curious. I just wanted to know like the references, like the Assassin's Creed, the Hidden Blade, blah blah blah. Um Unfortunately, I did not really enjoy like the long term, or in the long term, in the long run of the game. I did not really enjoy it because of the repetitive quests, the missions, and the potato like quality. But aside from that one, the one thing that got me the most with Assassin's Creed, its linear design, its philosophy, the music, and the story. It was a Kickstarter. This is a revolutionary game. This is what started the entire franchise that I fell in love with. So it's not gonna be boring like down here in the D tier. I would put it somewhere on A tier because it still has a special place in my heart on how I actually got into this franchise. Now, on the next one, the DS games. I never really had a Nintendo DS recently. Mine was busted, so I never really got a chance to play them properly on the DS. But I do have emulators, and I think it was good enough. Assassin's Creed Chronicles. It has a very intriguing story. It's actually a good intrigue, but not revolutionary. It gets a little boring, but the story got me engaged. So yeah, I think I'm still gonna put it on the A tier as well, and because of the story itself, the gameplay, it is a Nintendo DS, so I'm not gonna expect that much as like the other games. Assassin's Creed Bloodlines, it didn't really age too well for me. However, there were scenes, there were like scenes, and the writing of it is kind of good, you know. The philosophical discussion between Altair and Maria was on point. The gameplay is it's okay. So I wouldn't say that it's as good as both of these games. I would put it on a B tier. It's fine. I mean, it's not that bad. Now, there is a certain trilogy right here that is guaranteed to be S tier, and obviously, I wouldn't nitpick or cherry pick some of these opinions because everybody says the Ezio Auditore storyline is the best out of all the franchise. And you know what? They're actually correct. 100%. Ezio's storyline, Assassin's Creed 2, was actually a really huge improvement from the first game. The writing is better, the character is unforgettable, the gameplay is, despite its potato quality, it was very satisfying. And I could say the same from Brotherhood and Revelations. Sure, there are issues with Revelations, as I hear from other, but for me, I didn't really got bored of it, or the story. It's hard because these three are intertwined, and I think they're S tier for a reason. The Ezio's storyline is actually everyone's favorite for a reason, and I can't disagree on that because it's actually way too good. There's really nothing much I could say with this one because it was just I guess same with the Bloodlines. There's really nothing much I could say because it's a DS game. I don't think that everyone is really interested with this one right here. Now, anyway, let's move on. Now here, the infamous Assassin's Creed 3. I remember when I was high school, I actually saw the trailer for this game, And it was proud. You know what? And there's one thing that I realized: Assassin's Creed is really good with their trailers. At least during the time, the hoodie times. You know, the white hoodie, with the fact when you were still an assassin, right, Ubisoft? So, Assassin's Creed 3, some moments are great, characters are okay, but the development is just not my cup of tea. And the naval combat for this one is. I like the axe and everything like that in Connor, but as the setting for it, not my type really. I would put it on the B tier. It's not a bad game, but the development of the characters, especially like Connor and his father and all that, don't worry, no spoilers, but it's just not my cup of tea. If you would put it higher on this list, I would understand. But for me personally, it was okay, but not that great. Assassin's Creed, this one right here. It's okay. Not bad. It's okay. Assassin's Creed Revelations. It was boring. I mean, there's really nothing much that I could discuss with this Revelations without like triggering a lot of community out there. Now, let's go to Assassin's Creed Black Flag. When I saw this trailer for the first time, I was like, you know what? This is the end of Assassin's Creed. I actually, I owe Black Flag an apology because I was like, pirates and assassins? Impossible. Because you know that we have a recurring theme like in Istanbul, in Spain, and all these like good places, and the setting would be pirates. Like I really don't see anything good with it. But you know what? It's actually really fucking good. Black Flag is a really amazing game. Look, I am not a fan of pirates at all. I mean, I've watched the Pirates of the Caribbean, but all these pirate movies, but pirates in general are just not my thing. But because of Black Flag, I might want to reconsider that thought because the characters here are memorable, the gameplay is satisfying, the setting is amazing, and it's just basically I would just recommend this game to everybody. Black Flag is such an amazing Assassin's Creed game, and that's the best part. Even though that it's pirate theme, it still feels like an Assassin's Creed game. The next game right here, Assassin's Creed Rogue, I would say it's actually pretty underrated. Now, some fans don't like Assassin's Creed Rogue simply because it's an insult because you're playing as a Templar in this game. Now, but in my end, judging by its it is the same system with Black Flag, and it almost feels like a DLC instead of like a separate game. So I think that's what bugs me the most with Assassin's Creed Rogue. But it's actually pretty good. It's actually a good game it has the characters are interesting. The mechanics are it's like an additional mechanic for Black Flag, and it's actually interesting, and it's actually really nice to know what the perspective is like when you're a Templar, when you're fighting against the assassin. Although I didn't like what happened in the characters that was included there, but it really blew my mind by the ending and the characters there. Assassin's Creed Pirates. Mobile game equals trash. Trash! Now, this is, I think, where everything started to go oomph, is Assassin's Creed Unity. I always hear news that Assassin's Creed Unity sucked like hell. At least during those times, it was completely trash because of like the bugs, the concept, the controls, the RPG mechanics, the character Arno. I mean, how could you hate this guy? Now, but in my end, since like all the years have passed after all the shitty games that I've played, Unity isn't that really like it's not really horrible. I didn't experience any type of bugs. Now with Unity, this is the first time where they actually changed the controls. The for a AAA game, they actually changed the controls. I did not like the tutorial for Assassin's Creed Unity because I had to like watch a video on how to use the controls effectively with Unity. Now, looking at the tier list right now, I think Arno is a fine character. The plot was okay. The setting was actually amazing. The French Revolution setting is actually pretty good. But due to the fact that I didn't like the RPG mechanic was not my cup of tea. I felt for the first time I felt alienated, and the Assassin's Creed thingy it's starting to fade away. So I would say it's a bad game, but it's somewhere around C. It's like a meh. I mean, it's fine. Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Now, at this point of time, I actually did not knew that this game existed. Assassin's Creed Syndicate. I actually didn't knew because I think this was the time when everyone was kind of sick of Ubisoft releasing the same shit every year or every time. Another Assassin's Creed game with the same shit and same blah blah blah. But you know what? I'm going to be very biased on this one. I'm actually putting this one an 8 here. Why? Because I am actually biased with the Victorian period, the aesthetics, the Arkham type of combat, the way when you switch characters from because you're playing as the Fate twins. I hope I pronounced that correctly, and everything was just so like it was gobsmacking. But really, like the grappling hook, the trains, the city, the modern Assassin's Creed like it's actually pretty good. I actually love the setting, the story itself. Yeah, I mean it's fine. Not as good as the predecessors or the gods above them, but it's actually pretty good. I'm actually biased with its setting. The progression is also nice. Combat is nice. It has a better tutorial than Unity, and I feel like Syndicate deserves more than what it was criticized for. It's actually a pretty, I would say, aside from Rogue, Assassin's Creed Syndicate is like criminally underrated for me. It's actually pretty good. Now we're off to the weird side. There are actually games that, and these are the Assassin's Creed Chronicles, but the side scroller games of Assassin's Creed. Now I got these games for free. I heard of these games before, but I completely forgot about them. If Ubisoft didn't make them for free, I probably would have never noticed it. So yeah, there are Assassin's Creed Chronicles starting from China, India, and Russia. Now, with Assassin's Creed China, it's actually was pretty it was pretty fair as a side scroller game. It was interesting. They're starting what I liked about Assassin's Creed is the fact that this Assassin's Creed this plot of assassins with many setting is starting to blow off, but it's just too I was hoping that they would give Assassin's Creed China like, or at least the protagonist of this, I forgot her name. The protagonist of this game, Xiao Jun, is actually was from I actually saw her from Assassin's Creed. I forgot that animated thing that they made, but I just looked it up on YouTube. It was the last day of Ezio, and the fact that he was the last trained assassin from Ezio, well, not formally trained, but the one who was able to meet the legend himself, Ezio. I would really like to see the standalone AAA game of Assassin's Creed China. I would like buy it immediately. But I'm just gonna put it on B tier simply because it's still a side scroller. It wasn't that much of an impact or anything like that. But yeah, India boring, Russia boring. Assassin's Creed, what's this? Oh, I actually have no idea what this Assassin's Creed game is. I have no idea what this Assassin's Creed is, so I'm just gonna put it right here. Now, here comes the part where Ubisoft. Now, remember when I said that everybody was getting tired of Assassin's Creed franchise? They so Ubisoft needed to find a way to I mean, they still want to keep the Assassin's Creed franchise because why not? So they wanted to make something fresh out of these franchises or the theme that you see, and that was Assassin's Creed Origins. Some might say that this is the one that killed the Assassin's Creed, and some might say that it's the one that actually saved the franchise. But I'm gonna be honest. The moment I actually got into Assassin's Creed Origins, I was completely like disappointed, upset, because whoa, this is not Assassin's Creed. Like, the combat is like very smooth, and now what I mean by smooth is like really fast and jittery and be clashing all the time. So with Assassin's Creed Origins, I also owe it an apology, because same as Black Flag, I completely underestimated. I kept an open mind to Assassin's Creed Origins ever since, because it does say Origins, so it has to be like it, so it doesn't have the theme. It's probably the most oldest theme set for Assassin's Creed. It's a mystical experience. Assassin's Creed Origins has a very mystical experience. I'm gonna put this one an A tier once, because it's act for me, in my opinion, it actually saved the franchise. It was a fresh concept. The combat was satisfying. The RPG mechanic, well, it was fine, I guess, but it's something that I also did not like, the Assassin's Creed part. The fact that you have to level up, the gear looting and all that. It was like your typical RPG game, but in Assassin's Creed style. Now, it's hopefully the best part of it is that it didn't lost its touch, its mystical touch as Assassin's Creed. The characters. Oh, and one thing why it's saved, if not for the rich lore and the performance of the characters, this would have been like in the lower tier. Because Bayek and his story and his acting and his performance was actually pretty amazing. His motives clear, how it all got originated was actually pretty breathtaking. And the setting itself in Egypt is actually pretty good as well. The immersion from these landscapes, these pyramids, the sands and more sands and a lot of sands is actually pretty good. So I will put, once again, Origins on the A tier. Now, okay, I remember a friend of mine told me that Odyssey was their favorite Assassin's Creed game, that he literally told me that it's like 100% he's good, like really good. Now I believe this is the time where Assassin's Creed fans are already like divided. But personally, now here's a pattern that I realized with these newer Assassin's Creed games. They know how to introduce you, just like their trailers. They know how to like give you this game, and you would be hooked to it like for the first 2 hours or 3 hours of the game, the first few missions and the mechanics and how you're introduced with it. That's what happened with me with Odyssey. I was blown away with like the battle, seeing Leonidas himself, the battle of the Sparta and Athens and the entire world of Greece. So, but the problem with Odyssey for me is actually it got very tiring. I'm just gonna put it here for a while. It got very tiring in the long run. The How would I say this? It's bloated. I know I'm just like nitpicking or just picking these up from other YouTubers and other like player experiences, but that's actually just what I felt. I mean, in the long run, when I was like, okay, not 6 hours in, like a few days in on this game, it was to the point where I was like, okay, I wonder where this is gonna go. Where am I? And then when will this stop? I guess it made me realize that bigger isn't always better. I lost the immersion. The characters were almost forgettable. This is the first time Origins. I still felt like it was Assassin's Creed Origin. It was the origins of the Assassin's Creed. But Odyssey, I felt like I lost it. If not for the Abstergo, Farah's story, it doesn't feel like an Assassin's Creed game. But it would be good as a standalone game. But as an Assassin's Creed game, I would say it's really bad. I'm sorry. I didn't enjoy this game in the long run. I wanted it to finish. As soon as I realized that it was done, I immediately just stopped. And this is also the first time where they introduced like the mythical creatures and the fantasy elements of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And the RPG elements, the looting system here is just really bad. Now, everything I did not like with Origins was the one that they tried to expand the most. So yeah, I'm really sorry for the Assassin's Creed Odyssey fans, but for me this is really a bad Assassin's Creed game for me. Is it a, but in the end it's my opinion really. If you think that this is a good game, I would agree. But for an Assassin's Creed game, I think it's a bad Assassin's Creed game. I don't feel like an assassin at all. I believe this is I think this is where Ubisoft lost its track. This is how the franchise lost its track. Kind of reminds me of that post that they did that I saw on Facebook about Ubisoft talking about the hidden blade, and here I am like, hidden blade? You mean the spear, the head, the dick head of Leonidas? And from bad just gets, and now we're here to Valhalla. Oh God. Although there were things that were improved, like example would be the one of the biggest flaws for me for Odyssey is the looting system and the items, the gears, and Valhalla sort of like toned it down a little bit, and it kind of made me glad. Now, Valhalla, once again, it started out fine the first few hours. I was literally gonna. Now, people started to. I seen a lot of videos that Valhalla is really bad and boring, and everyone was disappointed with it. But I actually wanted to love this game because at the first few hours of the game, I was actually I was like so onto it because they actually introduced cool assassin stuff again, like the cloaking, the all, you know, the hidden blade is introduced once again. But it could have been a really fine setting in Valhalla. Eivor as a character, I don't know. So for me, it's as bad as Valhalla. I mean, it's as bad as Odyssey. I wouldn't say worse or anything. They're equally bad. Even though Valhalla improved things on Odyssey, it has a problem of its own. And the number one thing that pissed me off the most with Valhalla is once again, the Norse, the Asgard part. I mean, I'm always open to these fantasy type of games, video games. I'm not saying, oh, it's not history accurate. But what pissed me off is that they just went full in. What really pissed me off the most is their Assassin's Creed, like well, Ubisoft did this Assassin's Creed 15th anniversary, and to be honest, they just went full on with this Norse mythology thing, the Forgotten Saga, where you play as Odin, you're in Niflheim, you're in Asgard, you get to see Thor, you get to see Freya, and all of these characters. I mean, it's a Norse mythology game. Now, I will say, I mean, that could have been fine, but like I said, it would be fine if they just released a standalone game of these aspects and not include this in this franchise called Assassin's Creed. I don't remember Odin to be related to Altair in some way. Desmond Miles is most probably related to Freya. I mean, it's crazy, but I see it as a possibility now with Valhalla because that's just how bloated the entire thing is. You really want a good Norse game, there's literally God of War, which is like way better than this Norse bullshit that you see in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, because the characters in Valhalla, they look like I just really hope that the rumors about Assassin's Creed Infinity, they will get back to their roots. And here's the best part. Do you Watchdog Legions, the expansion where Assassin's Creed where you meet this, feels more like an Assassin's Creed game than these trilogy. I'm gonna put Origins aside because it actually was a mystical experience. It was actually pretty good, but Odyssey and Valhalla, Christ, man, like come on, Ubisoft. I mean, I got a little disappointed. Like I've never rushed to finish a game faster than these two games right here, Odyssey and Valhalla. I did not know that there was a Lego game for Assassin's Creed Rebellion. And here's the bonus one, the Assassin's Creed movie. Fucking trash. Come on. And well, if you want more in depth, I'll probably create a separate video on why this this abomination is a bad Assassin's Creed movie. And that's it, guys. That's my personal opinion for all the Assassin's Creed franchise. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope there was something new that I placed on the table. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That this is it just for now. So I'll see you guys later.